All right. Brian Geisinger, also long ball hitter, split the action on Substack, Pack Pride, 24/7 Sports, basketball brain extraordinaire. I know that you have a breakdown of how Duke put Alabama's offense in a closet. So let's start there. What did they do other than just suffocate the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, it was a home run for John Shire. He didn't even need a torpedo bat? Is that what the Yankees are?
Yeah, I just read the story about that. It's a little shaky, but it is. Yeah,
a little sus.
Yeah, it is. It is a little sus.
They're allowed to hit with rocket launchers this season. It's awesome. So your question was about Duke's defense. Look, I thought obviously Duke all season I think has shown just a lot of versatility on that side of the floor, and Duke has sort of like a base defensive package that they can always get to, but there's a lot of like game-to-game adjustments, and even within games, you're going to see different adjustments. So Duke starts the game against Alabama, and they're playing drop coverage against Alabama's pick and roll. So they've got Kaman Malwatch drop below the level of the screen.
Right.
And then Aiden Sherrill comes in, the backup center, he hits those 2 pick-and-pop threes in the first 5 minutes of the game. And at the under 12 media timeout, Duke switches its coverages, and they start switching everything. And we've seen throughout the season against Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, UNC, Kaman Malwatch, his ability to go out and switch and take on guards along the perimeter.
Right.
Pretty good at doing that. Obviously, Alabama's got some serious firepower at those guard positions with Mark Sears and LeBaron Filan and Aiden Holloway. These are like really, really good. Filan maybe a lottery pick in a couple of months. And then after halftime, they start mixing it up. Where if Cliff Omarui is in at center for Alabama, Duke's in drop coverage. But if they've got Carolyn or any of their small ball fives in, Duke starts switching everything. And I just thought the sophistication in how they were nailing those things was really good. Duke rebounded the heck out of the ball, which is a big thing against Alabama, too. When Duke's starting lineup was in the game, they grabbed almost 90% of the defensive rebounds during those minutes. And, we maybe don't think of Alabama as like a team that really bangs you on the boards, but they want to get those offensive rebounds and pitch it out to Holloway and Sears for spot-up threes. And so for Duke to sort of take that off the table, I thought Duke's transition defense was really good too, but just for a little bit of context, they held Alabama in this game under 90 points per 100 possessions.
Yeah.
Nate Oates has coached over 200 games at Alabama. That's just the 18th time he's been held underneath that number, one of his teams at Alabama. It's only the second time this season too. So I don't know. I mean, Duke's had a lot of big defensive performances this season. To me, that was, they got it when they needed it. That was their best defensive performance of the season, especially if you're grading on the curve, with the stakes, the setting, and the quality of opponent.
Yeah, and here's the thing, because you mentioned rebounding, and by the way, we'll look ahead to Houston before we say goodbye, and that is going to be, I think, John Shire will spend all week talking about Houston's ability to get on the offensive glass. I think they're the best team in the country at getting to the offensive glass. It's almost 40% of their misses. Carolina, Duke Carolina for years, at the height of these two programs, Carolina was always one of, if not the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. Duke has to be prepared for that. They struggled a little bit with Arizona on the offensive glass, and I thought they struggled early against Alabama on the defensive backboards, but I think for maybe the last 30 minutes, they completely shut that down, because I thought the most impressive thing was that Duke did this without Cooper Flagg's fastball offensively. He was great defensively. He was not great offensively.
Yeah, that was like a C- game for him. I mean, he was still pretty good, but offensively, he made a couple. Whereas the Arizona game, he made maybe one mistake offensively. He had one of the turnovers late against Arizona. He had several kind of bad passes. You still see some of the limitations with his handle at times. And this was not his. And he couldn't. There was also an hour-long stretch of the game in real time where he didn't make a shot too. Now he still doing a million good things for them on that side of the floor, and obviously his defense is very important. And when Duke is going to switch like that, and they've got Malawach, switched out 20-plus feet from the rim, well, then you need Cooper to be the presence at the back end, right? And I thought his rim protection, he had 9 defensive rebounds. It felt like more. He's obviously an amazing rebounder, and they're going to need it from him against, probably the most, outside of maybe the 2 games against Arizona, maybe Kansas. Like, this is Auburn, I suppose, too. One of the most physical front courts they've seen all season, with Juwan Roberts and JoJo Tugler, who are, they don't have like the size and length of Malawach or, the Arizona front court, but they're mean and super athletic and really strong and ferocious. And
grown.
Does that. Houston, Roberts has been around for how many years now? But also, like, Houston does Duke to an extent is able to do this as well, where, like, they're able to both, like, crash the glass offensively, but also be good in transition defensively. They have the balance. They can still send 2 guys to the glass and still be good on the other end of the floor. I think heading into the Alabama game, we talked a lot about, like, the numbers component, and how Alabama wants to just, on a points per possession basis, how they want to just blow you away with, dunks and threes. Houston, their math is different. Like, they play this possession battle where they don't turn the ball over. Right. Their offense is top 10 nationally in turnover rate this season, and right around 14%, I believe, and they're tops in offensive rebound rate. So, like, that's how they're just going to beat you with the possession game and take more shots than you, basically. And on the other end of the floor, I mean, defensively, they're monstrous. So it's a big challenge, man. It really is.
Brian Geisinger is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Split the action on Substack with a full breakdown of Duke's defense in the win over the Crimson Tide. On the offensive side, when you didn't have Cooper Flagg with his best stuff, and I've said this before when I'm talking to other people about it. This is the thing that impresses me the most about Duke offensively, is that if they have a handful of guys that aren't playing well, they have a handful of other guys that just pick them up. So, in the game again, was it Arizona? Tyrese Proctor didn't shoot well against Arizona. All right, so Sion James and Mason Gillis are knocking down threes. Or Caleb Foster is making shots. So now, right. But Proctor played great. So Cooper wasn't at his best offensively, but now you've got another facilitator in Con Knipple who can do maybe not what Cooper Flagg does, but can facilitate and create offense his own way. And Proctor. This is why I think Duke is, I think they're going to win it. There are obviously no guarantees at all, but they have just so many different vessels to run at you to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, even a team like, Florida kind of has that to an extent, but even they're probably more reliant on, like, Clayton, just from, like, a pure sort of, like, late game or, like, when, they're looking for a bucket perspective. Obviously, Duke's going to go to Cooper, but he's obviously a high-usage guy too. But I think they've shown the ability to run enough of the offense through Con in, like, leverage moments too. He's been amazing this season. I mean, he hits his free throws. He's a knockdown three-point shooter. He hits threes in every different context, coming off screens, pick and roll, ISO, step back, spot up, quick release, like whatever you want, you name it, he's got it. And his work in the pick and roll with Malawach is, like, I think probably like an under-discussed gear of Duke's offense.
It's crazy.
Because, like, when those guys see drop coverage, like, what's going to come, which is that, like, Con is going to wait until the last. He's going to come off the screen, and if the center defender's back and drop, which that won't be the case against Houston. I mean, Houston's going to put 2 on the ball, so it's a different setup.
Right.
But when they see drop coverage, Con comes off, and he said it. He joked after the game with Aliyah Force, like, he's not a fast player, but against drop, he's slow.
Right.
His words. But he's so good because he's so big and strong. He has the ability, the threat to just pull it from different levels of the floor with his shot. He'll take that ball, he'll get it till he's 6-7 feet from the rim, and he forces the center to come over and help. And as soon as that happens, he's going to throw the ball to the rafters.
Yep.
So come on, can go get it. And like they've just done that against every team that's played drop against them this season. It's going to be a little different now because when you're playing a team like Houston that's in a hard hedge and blitz ball screens, like it's the opposite. You want to get the ball out of your hands as quick as possible. I'll be honest, to me it feels like a game where I could also see guys like Gongba and Malik Brown needing to be used in the pick and roll because those guys are so good on the short roll and in those little pockets of space. And come on, as amazing as he is, he can dabble in those waters too, but that's really not his strong suit compared to Malik and Pat, who are like very good at doing that. So, and I think it's been cool that Malik's been back and has been able to give them some contributions. Like it was nice to see him back on the floor, albeit sort of in a diminished capacity. So, but yeah, I think the con component of Duke's offense, how they can sort of like rearrange their playmaking apparatus, and just his connection with Malawach in the pick and roll has been pretty darn special this year.
A couple of more minutes with Brian Geisinger here. Yeah, Malik Brown playing with one arm. He's not even he's not using his left arm at all.
He got a deflection immediately though in
the Arizona game.
So funny.
So it's hysterical. Came in immediately got a deflection, and has been like even on offense he has facilitated using just his right arm. It has been great. John Shire did say after the game on Saturday night, got to get Malik Brown healthier, and he didn't play in the second half in either game. And frankly, they didn't really use a bench in the second half in either game. Had some foul trouble, obviously, against Arizona, so they needed Mason Gillis, and they had to manage the big men in terms of foul trouble. But for the most part, most of the minutes that Isaiah Evans has gotten have been first, maybe all of them have been first half minutes, and Caleb Foster primarily first half, although if he was on the court in the second half. It is interesting that Foster has jumped back ahead of Isaiah Evans in the rotation. Now, I'm not complaining. Foster has played very well down the stretch, but they've basically gone with their five guys, right? They basically played these five.
Yep, and you know the substitution pattern. Like Kaman comes out at the under 16 or right around there. Cooper usually comes out at the under 12. And they start to they'll sort of like use their rotation to kind of build in a little bit of rest early on, and then ride those guys, ride their top 5 or 6 down the stretch as much as possible, knowing obviously if you had to, you could, if you need more shooting, you can put Isaiah Evans on the court. If you need more ball handling, the way they have, in some of these in the last 2 games, then you've got a guy, Caleb Foster, it looks like he's got his confidence back a little bit, which is really good. And I think Gongba has really, Alabama was a tough matchup for him, obviously. But, I think even his high post facilitation, like he's been able to make up for some of the stuff that they were going to lose when Malik went down. And Pat's been able to he doesn't bring the same defensive, acumen, obviously, that Malik does. But his front court passing, high post facilitation, that's at least like allowed them to keep that part of the playbook, alive. So you have to give Pat a lot of credit. So they've just found contributions here and there. But, it's not like they have someone who's going to come off the bench and play, 20, 25, 30 minutes, at least at this point in the season.
Yeah.
But I will say, the Houston matchup does feel like one where Mason Gillis, from like a physicality and just like toughness experience, like this does feel like a game where like you're probably going to end up having to lean on him a little bit. And it's good that they have it. Like, I think we've seen throughout the season teams have tried to get into a dogfight with Duke, and like that Sion James and Mason Gillis are happy. So same with Con Nipple. Those guys love that stuff. So it's like, so does Cooper obviously too. Yep. So like we just have a team that's sort of like ready, I think to scrap a little bit more maybe than in previous seasons too. So this does feel like a Gillis game from a strength and rebounding and team defense perspective.
Real quick before we let Brian Geisinger go, we at the risk of cart before horse syndrome, and I'm not going there. To me, the best Duke team I've ever seen is the 2001 team that won the title. That team had, aside from incredible talent, they had a killer instinct that was, to me, unmatched. A similar killer instinct as the 91 and 92 teams had, right? But that team, the 01 team, was more talented than that the 91 and 92 teams, and I say that knowing that Grant Hill was on that team, and Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley. But 2001 had a different level of pro talent. This team would surpass 2001 in my eyes if they won it. And they have an ability to elevate their play, and it's not about who they play, it's about that they're playing. And I think that is the most impressive thing that I have seen about this team. It should be a blast to watch. Do you make predictions?
When forced to, I can predict, though I'm such like a process over results guy that it's not necessarily my forte, but I'm happy to do it if need be.
You don't have to, but I think Duke will win it. But man, there are 4 teams here that can all absolutely lay claim to be the best team in the country. So,
if I had to, I would say Duke over Houston, Florida over Auburn, and that's our national title game. Next Monday.
Duke Florida could be a good game.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, might be a good game. Brian Geisinger, split the action on Substack. Get it. My friend, I will talk to you later.
Yeah, take care, guys.
You got it. Brian Geisinger. We'll talk to him on Monday to preview Duke Florida in the national championship game.